The sun was lazily rising over the small town, its golden rays illuminating the still silent streets. It was a typical start of the day in that quiet community, where everyone knew each other by name and news travelled faster than the wind. However, there was something new in the air, the arrival of a stranger who had inherited the old property of the late William. Evan drove his car through the narrow streets, observing the simple houses and small businesses that were starting to open their doors. He felt a mix of nostalgia and apprehension. The memories of past summers in that town when he was a child, visiting his Uncle William, seemed distant like an old dream. Now at 35, Evan returned as the owner of the grand colonial house that had fascinated him so much in his childhood. After years of travelling the world, working as a freelance photographer, Evan never imagined he would end up inheriting his uncle's property. The news had caught him by surprise, but it also brought with it a sense of opportunity. Perhaps it was time to put down roots, to find a place to call home. The idea of transforming the old house into a cosy inn began to form in his mind. As Evan approached the property, his heart raced with anticipation. However, as he rounded the last bend on the dirt road, reality hit him like a cold bucket of water. The house that in his memories was majestic and imposing now appeared decrepit and abandoned. The windows were broken, the paint was peeling, and the once lush garden was nothing more than a tangle of weeds. Evan parked the car and got out, looking around with a mix of disappointment and determination. The work would be arduous, but he was willing to face it. He spent the rest of the day inspecting the property, making notes, and calling renovation companies. When night fell, exhausted and hungry, he decided to find a place to eat in town. It was then, guided by his stomach and curiosity, that Evan found a small diner located right in the heart of the town. The simple facade, with a slightly faded sign and lace curtains on the windows, exuded a welcoming, almost nostalgic charm. As soon as he pushed open the wooden door, a small bell hung above tinkled softly, announcing his arrival with a delicate sound that echoed through the quiet yet warm environment. As he took his first step inside the place, he was immediately enveloped by an irresistible combination of aromas. The scent of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the smell of warm bread straight from the oven, creating a comforting, almost homely atmosphere. It was as if time had slowed down in there, a peaceful pause from the hustle of renovations and the tiring reality of the day. But it wasn't just the welcoming scent that awakened Evan's senses. It was the sight of the woman behind the counter that truly made him forget for a moment where he was. She was beautiful in a genuine way, without artifice or pretension. Her brown hair was tied back in a loose ponytail, with a few strands escaping to softly frame her face. Her eyes, a vivid and expressive green, seemed to hold their own light, a serene glow that conveyed kindness and vitality. The smile on her face was wide and genuine, with an inexplicable power to warm any room. Evan stood still for a few seconds, watching her interact with the customers. She moved with ease and spontaneity, calling each patron by name, exchanging jokes, laughing easily, making affectionate comments about the children, asking about the husband of the lady at the corner table. Only then did Evan blink, trying to shake off the feeling of enchantment that had overtaken him. He discreetly searched for an empty table in the corner, still absorbing the human warmth of the environment. He sat down, trying to appear carefree, but inside he was as restless as a teenager in the throes of first love. To his surprise, the woman herself approached with a notepad in hand and an affectionate look. "Hello, good evening," she said with a gentle smile, her voice melodious like a light song. "You must be Evan, right?" He gasped lightly, surprised. "Yes. How do you know my name?" She let out a peaceful giggle without any pretension. "Well, this is a small town. News travels faster than light itself. You're the new owner of Old William's house, aren't you?" "Oh, sorry for the lack of formality. My name is Monica," she said, extending her hand delicately. Evan shook her hand, still a little stunned by the warm and spontaneous nature of that woman. He placed his order, trying to maintain his composure, and watched her as she gracefully walked away. He watched her move familiarly around the room, exchanging kind words with everyone she encountered. When she returned with the order, she sat for a moment at Evan's table. "You know," she began, "the last years of Mr. William were really very sad. He isolated himself in that property. I think loneliness consumed him. He never wanted to marry. I heard stories that he had many suitors, but he thought that getting married was something for the weak, that depending on others was bad. And look how it ended. Alone." Monica's words echoed in Evan's mind as he returned to the small hotel where he was staying. He had always avoided long-term relationships, preferring the freedom of his travels and the absence of commitments. But now, for the first time, he wondered if this lifestyle would lead him to the same lonely end as his uncle. The following days were a whirlwind of activities. Evan plunged headlong into the property's renovation, overseeing every detail, from fixing the roof to painting the walls. In the evenings, invariably, he found himself returning to the diner where Monica worked. They exchanged a few words, but always about everyday matters. Evan wanted to invite her out for something more, but he hesitated, aware of his position as a newcomer in town. That night, returning exhausted to his room at the hotel, Evan only wished for a hot bath and a few hours of rest. However, as soon as he pushed the door open and entered the quiet, dimly lit room, something caught his attention. On the floor, right in the corner next to the bed, lay a small object, a worn red toy car, with marks of use and a slightly crooked wheel. It was the kind of toy that young boys love to carry in their pockets or push across the floor as they create imaginary adventures. How had it ended up there? Unable to unravel the mystery, he placed the car on the nightstand, certain that somehow fate would soon reveal its origin. The following morning, heading out for another day of work on the construction site, Evan ran into Monica in the hotel corridor. She was pushing a cart full of bed linens and cleaning products. "Monica, what are you doing here?" he asked, surprised. She smiled, although she looked a little tired. "I work here too. You know how it is, just the diner salary isn't enough. I do 2 shifts. Evan was impressed with Monica's dedication, wished her a good day, and headed to his car. However, upon reaching the vehicle, he realized he had forgotten his phone in the room. Going back, he opened the door and came across an unexpected scene. Monica was there, starting the cleaning, and from inside the cart she was pushing, a small boy of about 2 years old emerged. She was startled to see Evan. "You're back? Please don't tell the manager that I've been bringing my son to work," she pleaded. "The person who used to look after him can't anymore and—" Evan smiled, gently interrupting her. He pulled the toy car from his pocket that he'd found the night before. "Then I guess it was you who forgot this yesterday," he said, handing the toy to the boy, who beamed with joy. "Don't worry, Monica. I'm good at keeping secrets," Evan assured, leaving through the door with an understanding smile. That night, Evan went to the diner with his heart racing. It wasn't just the comforting aroma of the coffee or the warm taste of the food that drew him in, but Monica's presence, which was slowly becoming the reason for his daily visits. As he pushed the glass door, the bell chimed as usual. His eyes sought her immediately, and there she was behind the counter with the same smile that seemed to warm even the coldest corners of the soul. But that night, there was something more in her gaze. A gentle glow, perhaps of gratitude, perhaps of hope. Monica approached. "Good evening, Evan," she said in that welcoming tone of voice that made everything seem less complicated. "Thank you once again for this morning. I really don't know what I would have done if you had told the manager. Taking care of my son alone and trying to pay the bills has really been tough. It was important to me." There was a brief silence. One of those silences filled with all that has yet to be said but is about to overflow. Evan looked at her with more attention than ever before. He saw not only the strong and kind woman who smiled at everyone, but also the dedicated mother, the silent warrior who juggled double shifts to give her son the best. "Monica," he said in a lower and firm voice, "you don't need to thank me. It just touched me to see everything you do alone, without ever losing that sparkle in your eyes. You are admirable." She looked away for a moment, visibly moved. For the first time, her usual smile gave way to a vulnerable and sincere expression. "No one usually says that kind of thing," she confessed quietly. Evan smiled back. At that moment, between served dishes and exchanged glances, something changed. It was no longer just a customer and a waitress. There was a connection there, something silent and growing, that they both felt, even without naming it. The weeks passed in the blink of an eye. Every day Evan saw his new home, and now his inn, take shape. The roof had been restored, the old windows replaced by gleaming panes, and the garden, once overtaken by neglect, bloomed with vibrant colours. Every detail seemed to echo the transformation he felt within himself. Now he needed someone to help him at the inn, someone who would not only organise the daily tasks, but also bring warmth and hospitality to the place. And before his mind could consider other options, one name imposed itself on his thoughts: Monica. That night, as had been happening for weeks, Evan went to the diner. But this time he wasn't there just for the coffee or the casual conversations. He waited patiently until the flow of customers decreased, watching Monica attend to the last orders with the same smile he knew so well. Finally, when she allowed herself a small break at the counter, Evan approached. "Monica," he called softly, feeling an unusual nervousness sweep through his chest. She looked up, surprised by the more serious tone in his voice. "What is it, Evan?" He took a deep breath, trying to gather the right words. "I would like to make you a proposal." Monica raised her eyebrows slightly, crossing her arms. "Oh, really? What kind of proposal?" Evan smiled slightly, noticing the spark of curiosity in her eyes. "The inn is ready, but I know I can't run it alone. I need someone who understands hospitality, who knows how to deal with people. Someone like you." Monica's face lit up with surprise, but also with caution. "Evan." "Listen," he continued, leaning slightly forward, as if fearing she would dismiss the idea without even considering it. "You could work with me. You would have a flexible schedule. You could bring Justin without any worries. I know how much you juggle between two jobs. This would be an opportunity for you to have more time for him." For a moment, Monica just stared at him, the coffee cup forgotten between her fingers. "Are you sure about this?" she asked. Evan nodded without hesitation. "I'm absolutely sure. I think we would make a great team." Silence hung between them for a moment, laden with unspoken meanings. Then, a soft smile curved Monica's lips, and she let out an almost relieved sigh. "Evan, this would be wonderful." And in that moment, without either of them needing to say it out loud, something inside them changed. It wasn't just an invitation for a job, it was an invitation for a new beginning, a step towards something bigger than either of them had planned. And so began a new phase in both of their lives. In the months that followed, Evan and Monica worked side by side, transforming the old property into a true paradise. The inn became known for its spectacular breakfast, served in the now well-kept garden. Even those who weren't guests could enjoy the meal. The pool, with its relaxing waterfall, became a major attraction. Monica's son, little Justin, ran freely around the property, filling the place with laughter and childish joy. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, Evan noticed a change within himself. The constant presence of Monica and Justin in his life brought a sense of purpose and belonging that he had never experienced before. He found himself eager to wake up every morning, eager to see Monica's smile and hear Justin's laughter. One afternoon, while watching Monica play with Justin in the garden, Evan was hit by a realization. He was no longer afraid of putting down roots, of committing. On the contrary, he longed for it. The idea of a lonely future like his Uncle William's no longer haunted him. Instead, he saw a future full of possibilities, of love, and of family. That night, after Justin went to sleep, Evan invited Monica for a walk through the lantern-lit garden. The air was scented with the aroma of night flowers, and the starry sky seemed to bless the moment. "Monica," Evan began, his heart pounding, "these last few months have been the happiest of my life, and it's because of you and Justin. You both have shown me what it means to have a home, a family. I've fallen in love with you, Monica, and with Justin too. I know it may seem sudden, but would you have dinner with me? Like a real date?" Monica looked at him. For one terrible moment, Evan feared he had made a mistake. But then she smiled, a smile that lit up the entire night. "Evan," she said softly, "I've fallen in love with you too, and Justin adores you. Yes, I would love to have a date with you." In that moment, under the stars and surrounded by the scent of flowers, Evan and Monica shared their first kiss. It was the beginning of something new, something beautiful and promising. The following months saw the blossoming of a deep and true love. Evan, who once feared commitments, now found himself eager to build a life with Monica and Justin. The inn thrived, but more importantly, they were creating a home filled with love and laughter. A year after that night in the garden, Evan proposed to Monica. The ceremony was held in the same garden where it all began, with Justin as the adorable ring-bearer. The entire small town came to celebrate the union of the couple who had brought new life to the old property and new hope to the community. As they danced their first dance as husband and wife, Evan looked into Monica's eyes and saw his future reflected in them. It was not a future of loneliness like his Uncle William's, but one of love, family, and purpose. The old property, once a symbol of isolation and sadness, now pulsed with life and joy. And at the centre of it all were Evan, Monica, and little Justin. A family formed by chance, united by love, and strengthened by the desire to build something beautiful together. As the sun set on another day at the inn, Evan hugged Monica and Justin, grateful for the journey that had brought them there. He finally understood that putting down roots didn't mean losing freedom, but gaining a home to always return to. And there, in that small town in the countryside, on a once-forgotten property, Evan found not only a place to call his own, but also people to call family. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.